Switzerland's new flagship Giruno trains have been running since 2019, and man are they something. I'll finally be able to show you this train's cutting edge features that really make it second to none, travelling across the gorgeous Swiss Alps and the world's longest railway tunnel directly through them, as we make a journey from Switzerland's largest city Zurich to the second largest city in Italy, Milan. Now join me as the journey continues. Welcome back to Zurich Hauptbahnhof, located right in the heart of Switzerland's largest city and the main hub for transit of practically all kinds across Zurich and beyond. The station here dates back as far as 1847 and the current building 1871, which recently completed a 5-year refurbishment at the end of 2023. When visiting Zurich Hauptbahnhof, you'll often find there are regular fairs or events that happen in the main concourse, and my visit on this trip was no exception. There seemed to be a careers fair of some sort going on, though at this time of morning there was very little activity. This allows a better appreciation of the station and its rather intriguing design features, should we say, in the Haupthalle or main hall, which also grants access to many amenities within the station, such as shops and eateries, though you'll find a more extensive selection in the underground shopping centre, the Shopville Mall. And yes, there's even a church here, or Bahnhofkirche, available for anyone of any faith to use as a place of worship. Our operator today is the main operator of the station, Swiss Federal Railways, stylised in 3 of Switzerland's national languages of German, French and Italian respectively. If you need any last minute tickets or need to pick up any pre-purchased ones you made online, you can make use of the many ticket machines present here or at the ticket office, which has now been relocated to the other side of the main concourse, though I booked my reservation online and printed it off beforehand, which I'll discuss later as we get going. Most trains, including our service to Milan, use the 9 upper level platforms at the end of the Haupthalle, though a fair amount of through and terminating trains tend to use the lower level platforms 31 to 34, like this SBB Astoro bound for Munich. Don't worry, that will also be coming soon to the channel in due course. Zurich Hauptbahnhof is one of the busiest railway stations in the world, with an impressive 150 million passengers annually and serving up to 2,915 trains per day. But anyway, let's focus on our service, which is Eurocity 315, the 0933 departure to Milano Centrale from platform 5. Services on the Zurich to Milan route depart roughly hourly in each direction for most of the day, with most using these new SBB Giruno high-speed trains, Giruno being the Romansh word for buzzard. 29 of these 250 km/h electric multiple units were built by Swiss manufacturer Stadler and entered service with SBB in 2019, operating principally on both intercity and cross-border Eurocity services, being authorised for use in Italy, Germany and Austria in addition to Switzerland for the latter. Each set comprises 11 cars and has articulated Jacobs bogies across most of the consist, in common with other Stadler products. These trains can also run in multiple to create a whopping 22 carriage set, like ours is today, and just as well, these services can and do get very busy. This train's party trick is that it's low floor with level boarding throughout, though the wheelchair accessible entrance offers full step-free boarding as demonstrated here. The Giruno trains are now the mainstay of Zurich to Milan services, having partially replaced the ETR 610 Pendolino units operated by both SBB and Trenitalia, the latter operating the service jointly with the former. These are now focused more on routes where their tilting capabilities can be utilised better, such as the Geneva to Milan route, though they can still run Zurich to Milan turns as and when required. Okay, let's get on board. Whilst there is a small step between the train and the platform, boarding is very smooth and the whole train being low floor makes it much easier to get around. Here is first class, which is in both a 2x1 and 1x1 layout, and it looks incredibly stylish, as I'm sure you'll agree.
train crew welcomes you to the Eurocity to Zug at Goldau, Bellinzona, Lugano, Chiasso, Milano main station, and wishes you a pleasant journey. Next stop, Zug.
As is expected from Swiss railways, we leave Zurich Hauptbahnhof on time to the second.
Guten Tag, meine Damen und Herren, das Zugteam der SBB begrüßt Sie im Eurocity 315 nach Goldau, Bellinzona, Lugano, Chiasso, Como und Milano Centrale und wünscht Ihnen eine angenehme Reise.
As we leave Zurich Hauptbahnhof, keep an eye out on the left for the Centrale Stellwerk, or central signal box, which dates back to 1966, and the clock it boasts is a good reminder of our on-time departure, and many others leaving or arriving into Zurich. The beginning of the journey is quite urban and not very Swiss-like as we work our way out of Zurich and its suburban area, but that very quickly changes to views over Lake Zurich, the beginning of the spectacular scenery you can get from this train. I really lucked out with the weather too for most of the trip. Combined with the smooth ride quality of the Giruno, this is a really pleasant way to travel. Around 25 minutes later, our first stop is Zug, which whilst is also the German word for train funnily enough, the name is actually used to refer to pull or tug, originating from fishing vocabulary, as in the Middle Ages it was used to refer to the right to pull up fishing nets and consequently the right to fish, a reference to Lake Zug which we'll pass through shortly. Lake Zug is 14 kilometers long and stretches all the way to Art in the canton of Schwyz, the crystal clear water being the result of enhanced environmental protection due to its poor feeding, which would result in long-term damage if polluted, meaning the landscape here would be vastly different to what we're seeing now. Let's now take a break from the scenery and check out more of the Giruno's first class interior. I was actually a pretty big fan of the seat. Whilst padding is not perfect, the ergonomics, winged headrest and adjustable cushion make it a very solid option, particularly for a modern train like this. At both sides of the seat are foldable armrests, and right underneath it is the lever to operate the seat's manual recline function. Just pull down on the lever and move your body forwards and backwards to adjust it how you like. Both the legroom and seat pitch on these first class seats are really something else, just brilliant. Also present just in front of us is a seat back pocket, as well as a foldable and extendable tray table which is perfect for holding a laptop or any larger device. Speaking of which, there are also both Swiss and European power sockets at each seat if you need to charge your device whilst on board. In addition to the tray table, there is also a smaller table for placing a phone or any other smaller items, including a groove for a cup holder and a personal litter bin just below, which is more spacious than you think. At the base seating areas, you'll instead find these slightly longer tables with space underneath for bag storage. You can also find a personal reading light just above, which is below the electronic reservation displays, and as you can see, there are also a lot of free seats which are able to be reserved at any point during the journey. Each seat is also displayed in Braille too, for those who are visually impaired. After all, accessibility is the selling point of this train. Further above are the overhead luggage racks for storage of bags and smaller items, with luggage racks being located near the vestibules for larger items and suitcases. Coat hooks can be found just above the window, where you'll also find a draw-down blind for reducing the harsh sunlight you can get from a sunny spring morning such as today. Overall, the first class on these trains is fantastic and really gives off a comfortable and relaxing atmosphere when travelling on a route such as this. Brilliant! The train's next calling point is Art Goldau, located in the centre of the village of Goldau, which forms part of the municipality of Art. The station here is an important junction not just for services through the Gotthard base tunnel, but also for the Gotthard line and the Voralpen express line to St. Gallen and Lucerne, operated by Südostbahn, which I will again be bringing to the channel at some point in the future. It's a must-do route when in Switzerland as it captures its picturesque landscape well. However, let's turn our attention back to the picturesque landscape on our route, as we pass along the Swiss Alps before preparing to go under them as we approach the Gotthard base tunnel at Erstfeld. This is the main engineering marvel on this transalpine route, connecting German-speaking Switzerland with Italian-speaking Switzerland. The tunnel opened in June 2016 and is the longest railway tunnel in the world at a total distance of 57 kilometers, and with a maximum service speed of between 200 and 230 kilometers per hour, takes around 20 minutes to clear, though the tunnel was designed for speeds of up to 250 kilometers per hour. At the time of filming, however, the tunnel was majorly shut owing to a freight train derailment on 10th of August 2023, which severely damaged the rail infrastructure, notably on the northbound portal, meaning that all fast Eurocity and Intercity trains were diverted along the longer yet more scenic Old Gotthard Railway, now primarily used by regional trains, which added an extra hour onto journeys between Zurich and Milan. The tunnel was partially open to passenger traffic southbound on Saturday mornings when I made this journey, hence why we're able to travel through it now. It has since reopened in full as of 2nd of September 2024, so just over 2 months since the release of this video on the channel, and whilst you won't be able to see dazzling crystals or anything else spectacular inside, it really is something travelling through this essential piece of infrastructure. I also took advantage of the lack of scenery and decided to pay a visit to the dining car, and much like the German Railways ICE services, the dining cars on SBB Intercity and Eurocity trains are also second to none. These are available to anyone both in second and first class, and you can just grab any seat which is available. A copy of the menu is provided for each passenger at each table, which is very extensive for all times of the day. And whilst this may seem a bit expensive at face value, bear in mind that we are on a train that's also spending most of its time in Switzerland. You can then either place your order at the kiosk or wait for the attendant to come and take your order, though by the time I placed my order and sat down again, we emerged from the tunnel at the end of the southern portal at Biasca, marking our entry into Italian-speaking Switzerland. Just to the left is the exit to the Gotthard Railway, which I mentioned earlier. Our train at the time of recording being the third last passenger train of the day to run through the Gotthard base tunnel. Now, funnily enough, the signal in the tunnel was actually better than after emerging from it. Luckily, there's an onboard Wi-Fi service which worked perfectly fine, and I was able to browse social media with ease. But no time for that now, as my breakfast was delivered not long after exiting the tunnel. I went for the cherry pancakes and some orange juice, which were both absolutely delicious. Almost immediately after, we arrive into our first stop after exiting the Gotthard base tunnel, Bellinzona, the capital of the canton of Ticino, famous for its 3 castles of Castel Grande, Montebello and Sassocobarro, all of which have been designated UNESCO World Heritage Sites since the start of the 21st century. A quick look now inside the rest of the train. Here is second class, which comprises 6 of the 11 carriages on board and is in a 2x2 configuration with mostly base seating but a selection of airline seats too. The carriage I'm in now is also a dedicated family section, which is good for keeping young children entertained to help pass the time on journey lengths such as this. One thing I have to repeat praise for as well is the ease of getting around. Stadler have incorporated their usual ramp design throughout the interior, including the vestibules, making it much easier for those with reduced mobility to walk around the train. RABe and Siemens, take note. Dedicated wheelchair spaces can be found in both first and second class, which feature tip-up seats as well as sizable spaces to store wheelchairs and prams as showcased here. The second class section is also in a 2x1 configuration to provide more space, which is noted by the widened ramps. You'll also find wheelchair accessible toilets next to each of these sections, which are also very spacious. As for bicycle storage, this can be found in coach 3, one of the second class coaches. Bicycles must be reserved online and only one is allowed per passenger. Reservations vary by route, though won't exceed 15 Swiss francs, in which case a day pass is automatically offered. Most standard toilets on board are mixed gendered, as can be seen here, though some are single gendered for both males and females like this. I'll be checking out the former though for this loo review. Well, minus the small bits of toilet paper on the floor, this is a very clean toilet and is very spacious, and is even big enough for a baby changing facility in here. We now approach Lugano, a popular stopping off point and where some alternate turns on the route through the Gotthard base tunnel terminate, more often than not during my last visit to Switzerland. The arrival of the railways here in 1882 brought a significant contribution to the development of tourism here, the beating heart of the city's economy, and in 1956 the city was even responsible for hosting the first ever Eurovision contest. The departure from Lugano sees us run alongside the glacial lake of the same name, situated between Italy's Lake Como and the Swiss-Italian Lake Maggiore, and is one of the border lakes between southern Switzerland and Italy's Lombardy region. The weather also starts to brighten up again too, as we prepare to head towards the Italian border at Chiasso.
Prossima fermata, Chiasso. Questo treno prosegue per Como San Giovanni. Milano.
Chiasso is our final stop before we cross into Italy for the last stretch to Milan, and is where we have quite a lengthy layover of around 10 to 15 minutes, so stepping off for some fresh air isn't a bad idea. The reason for this layover is for the police border checks before entering Italy, despite both Switzerland and Italy being part of Europe's Schengen zone. As the city is only a mere few miles from the border, Northern Italy's Trenord also serves the station for local links towards destinations across the Lombardy region, of which Milan is the capital of. As for the actual border crossing itself, well, it's closer than you think. After leaving the station, it takes place at this junction here, mere minutes after departing, and with a glimpse of the famous Lake Como in the background, we pull into our last stop before Milan, Como San Giovanni, though not all trains on the Zurich to Milan route stop here. As a non-stop train to Milano Centrale, a large surge in passengers is experienced at this station, particularly those wanting days out and onward connections in Milan. To conclude, I really enjoyed my journey on the RABe Giruno. It's a fantastic train with so many positives that's really hard to fault, and I do think that Stadler and RABe really nailed the design and overall ambience. If you ever get a chance to ride this train, definitely do it on the Zurich to Italy route. You certainly won't regret it. For this trip, I was using a first class interrail, which whilst free and limited travel is available within Switzerland, crossing the border into Italy meant I had to pay a €13 reservation for this journey, as all services classed as high speed in Italy, including this one, are subject to compulsory reservation. Fares on this route on the RABe website for second class are 58 Swiss francs and 88 Swiss francs for first class, or €62 and €94 respectively. For these prices, I definitely would like to see at least a drink and snack service in first class, but bear in mind Switzerland isn't a particularly cheap country. Anyway, the punctuality of Swiss railways is once again displayed well here, as we arrive into Milano Centrale a whole 2 minutes early. Now you've heard from me, I want to hear from you. Have you travelled on the RABe Giruno before, or any other Swiss train for that matter? What did you think of it? Let me know in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and don't forget to like and share it if you did to aid the channel's growth, as well as subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more content such as this weekly. Now it's time for me to enjoy some lunch in Milan before I head back to Switzerland at my own pace using local trains which are reservation free. Thanks so much for coming with me on this trip, and I look forward to bringing you with me on my next one.